Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I am going to go through graphing a little bit. We're going to start out with graphing speed, which is going to be distance over time. So here we've got our distance time graph. We've got time on the x-axis, and that's our independent variable. Remember, the independent variable does not change, right? Like we can't control it. We can't slow down time or speed it up or anything like that. So it's down here on our x-axis. Over here on our y-axis, we've got our distance, and you create your spacing here. You just have to remember that whatever you do, however you space it out, they have to be even and you have to be going at a consistent rate. Like if I decide I want to go by fives, I can go by fives or by tens or whatever I want to do. You just have to keep it the same the whole way, okay? Because if you don't, then it's kind of like you're faking your data, and that's not what scientists do. Okay, it's going to make your graph look all kinds of wonky, and you don't want it to look like that. So let's talk about what lines look like. We've got our typical line that looks like this, and this is constant speed. That means over a certain amount of time, I'm moving a certain distance and it's staying the same. Like I'm going 5 miles every hour. Okay, so I'm going at 5 miles per hour. So every hour I go another 5. And so that's constant. And so this means for my whole trip, I'm going that same speed the whole time. I can make a curve. This means I am speeding up. So if I have a curved line, that means I'm going faster and faster and faster. My rate's not constant anymore. I can also go back and make my distance decrease. So here, this means I'm going back home. So I started far away from my house or wherever, 30 miles away, if you want your units to be miles over here, and then I got closer and closer and closer to my home until eventually I get all the way back to 0. Okay, and you can combine any one of these. For example, I can say that I left home going a constant speed. I stopped somewhere and stayed there, right? That means that I'm not increasing my distance. So time is passing, but my distance is not changing. So I stopped somewhere and then I can go back home. Okay. Now remember that the steepness of these lines is a big deal. So if I have my green line here, it's very steep. And then I've got my red line is not as steep. This one right here is slower. Slow. Whoa, that does not look like slow. And over here, I've got my fast line. Okay, so that's the big deal there. Now let me go on to my next one. Here, looks a lot the same, but it's very, very different here. Now I've got speed on my y-axis. My independent variable is still time, but my dependent variable is speed. So now what I'm doing is I'm actually measuring a change in speed. Okay, so here I'm actually measuring acceleration, but the same stuff can happen. I can have lines that look very similar, but it means something totally different. Here, as my line goes like that, I am increasing speed, but I'm doing it at a constant rate, which means I'm going, I'm starting like at 5, then 10 miles per hour, then 15, then 20 miles per hour. Okay, or I could curve it a little more and it's not so constant anymore, like this. Okay, I can do the same thing and go down as time is going. I can decrease my speed. In other words, I am slowing down here. So I started at a high speed and I'm going slower and slower and slower. And so since my line is straight, it's at a constant rate. Like I'm slowing down by 5 miles per hour every minute or whatever my scale is at the bottom. Okay, and then you can also have a little bit of a curve. Let me try to draw a curve here. You can do that too. Okay, now if I draw a horizontal line here, You'll remember before when I had distance on my y-axis, a horizontal line means that I stopped, I'm at rest. But that's not what it means here. So here, my horizontal line, which should be starting over right here, it means that my speed is constant. In other words, my speed is not changing. It's the same for the whole trip. As I started my trip all the way to the end of my trip, I'm staying at 50 miles per hour or whatever speed you're going. So make sure, like I said before, you're reading it like a story, right? As time is going on, you've got time down here, time is passing. As time is passing down here, what is happening in your story over here? That's going to help you out a lot. Okay, thanks.